Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Jeff Peate, and he's in Australia, and he is going to tell us about his experiences. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, how are you, Peggy?
Good. I'm going to let you take the floor. Just pretend it's your show. It's your time to shine and just pour your heart out all you want about your experiences. And I'm going to click on. So you'll be seeing me, but they'll be seeing you. Okay. And I'll
Thank
come
you.
back on like this when we're going to ready for a conversation about it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So feel free to start wherever you like.
right. Suppose it's always best to go back to the beginning, isn't it? When things start. Um, my experience, I suppose, one of those unconventional. It's not a classic NDE because it was a surrender experience. So, going right back to early childhood, I was brought up in a rather a Christian family, evangelical, but actually in the UK, which is at the time in the 60s, which was unusual. It wasn't the norm. Um, and so we were brought up in, I suppose the Christianity was in the background. And, um, and yeah, and we lived in the city of Liverpool. So unlike the US, where the Christianity is like, well, how I feel about it, and I expect it is, in a lot of places it's always in the foreground. It comes across anyway from what we see. I've never been to the US, but seems like it's always in the foreground. Well, in places like the UK, so it's in the background. You don't really get, most people don't really get involved in religion that much. It's
Mm.
um, it's just like integral. Yeah, you don't really notice it. So anyway, so normal childhood for a city in in a city, UK in the 60s, and then but mixed in with being brought up Christian was a bit of abuse as well. So uh, what what happened in effect was there was always a background anxiety. Always had like social anxiety. So this I just got on with my life, um, school, college, uh, professional trade, or working, and then but the anxiety was always there. It was a little bit, it was more than the norm, the social anxiety, and I didn't really I just got on with my life. I didn't really, didn't understand what it was. So I'd moved to Australia. I got married and I moved to Australia, and then I'm sorry, I'm trying to shorten a little bit because it's going to probably blow out to quite a long interview. uh, yeah, I'd moved to Australia and married, successful, friends, and uh, and that kind of thing. Just getting on with my life, and then I'd ended up, yeah, the anxiety was getting worse. It was getting worse. I was like running on here. Iced coffee is a big thing, so I was running on coffee like all day, and anxiety. It's
Oh,
like
that's bad
liters
for
of coffee.
anxiety.
Liters of coffee, yeah. So because it was the 90s, it was like go go go, work hard,
Yeah.
get everything done. That kind of lifestyle. So I had that kind of lifestyle, always on the go. But that was all hiding the nervousness, just on the go. It's hiding the social anxiety. And then what happened was I got divorced. My back was getting bad with work, and that kind of anxiety, that tension. The tension was building up, and yeah, we had arguments, and then got divorced. And my wife left back to the UK, and I was here on my own. So I was off down the river one day because I was in a ski club and we'd go skiing on the weekend. Anyway, so we're all having fun on the weekend. It was like a holiday. It was a holiday weekend, a long weekend, and they have the same as everywhere else. You get marijuana cookies, you know, and it had like marijuana before. I'd smoked a little bit, you know, it wasn't a big thing with me, and it had, and I thought, oh, and they had these marijuana cookies going around. Oh yeah, they're just like cookies, and they're not, because I didn't really know what I was going to be taking. So I ended up powering down, like munching down on 2 of these things. Well, there's an American comedian that comes here, and his name's Eddie If. And he said, I came to Australia. This is one of his comedy shows. I came to Australia and I had marijuana cookies, and it opened doors that never closed. So what happened with me was, so when I get emotional, it's not because of fear, anger, or anything. It's actually like they're little bliss outs that I have. About it. So what happened was, yeah, the cookie psychosis basically happened. So I had this cookie psychosis that didn't leave. It didn't
leave.
go. Correct. It didn't go at all. It stayed. It just persisted. So so what happened was, initially I was trying to work it, you know, deal with it, work it out in this different mindscape than what people would consider normal. Obviously, we've got like a normative mindscape, and then you've got psychotic, paranoid, schizophrenic landscape. It was the schizophrenic kind of land that I was living in from then on at that time. And then I sought medication, trying to work it out. And this was 20 years in the making then of healing. So from all accounts, most people don't really ever get over the schizophrenia that comes from that kind of psychosis. You know, once it's hit, that's it.
Did the pot start that?
Most people don't get, in effect, better from, you know, these kind of events. If you get schizophrenia, that's it. You know, you're medicated, and you kind of try to keep, well, the medical profession tries to keep the schizophrenia, you know, obviously, for society under control. Any mental health issues like that, obviously. So so what happened was, yeah, it was just seeking and searching for the next 20, because it was adult onset, an adult onset issue. I'd already had, in effect, I was trying to work this out because it's 20 years in working this out. So I'd already had a life before. It wasn't like I was a teenager and this kind of a mental health issue had hit. It was just social anxiety led into this. So what was happening was, like, I was on a loop. Mind talk was very loud, mind talk. And it was on very loopy OCD kind of events, auditory hallucinations, those kind of peripheral kind of visions, you know, where you see things out the corner and you think there's something there. There was all that. Was like a very heightened anxiety, was just like totally elevated. So what was happening was, there was panic. There was paranoid panic every single day. This emotion is more about the overcoming of it. It's not the actual event. So I hope people don't get confused by this emotion. Is like the bliss out. of the fact that it's not there anymore.
Say
Now,
bliss out.
yeah, it's like the emotion rises. And I'll explain why later, because it'll take a while to lead into it. So, yes, so I'm in this psychotic landscape, and then I've seen the psychiatrist. I've got the medication, so I've got medication for it. I've got olanzapine, finally, because olanzapine was quite new. Then a Zyprexa, it's a standard like schizophrenic drug. They didn't diagnose schizophrenia. Well, they wouldn't say it to my face, because there's this kind of thing here and over there that they don't tell you what you've got, because then you wear it. Your mind says, "Oh, I'm schizophrenic," blah blah blah. So I think that's the reason why they never really mentioned that the case. They just say, "Oh, he's schizophrenic," whatever. Then I found a good psychologist. I saw a psychologist for over 10 years. He was great, and come like a friend, and in effect, he's professional, but he's in effect like a friend. Did the work for him, and what have you.
Good.
So yeah, it's great, Michael. So then this is then about 22 years, because this happened when I was about 32, 33, which is that, magic number 33. Of searching really, really heavy in the lucid kind of times in between, trying to work with it, because I'm working at the same time as a professional electrician, running a business, and then a family was coming along. Like, I've got three beautiful boys now. So I actually married my natural therapist, the natural therapist I met while I was along the journey. So I have three wonderful boys. So she had all the books. She had it's like a small library of books. And then on my own at the same time, I was just searching theology, psychology, natural health, cosmology, everything. All the ologies. I was searching everything, trying to all the natural. I saw about 3 psychiatrists. I had 3 breakdowns where I'd go to hospital. I'd totally lose time in hospital, just like blackouts, a whole day of a blackout, and then I come back. The psychosis where it just gets what would I call it? There's a word for it, catatonic, where
Oh,
it's just not be able to move. The mental illness over those 22 years, mental disease, I'd call it, not illness. It's not really a good word to use, really, in that respect. Disease had all the different characteristics of every mental illness, from depression to suicidal. Oh, that was suicidal was quite an often. It was a weekly event. Yeah, where it and allowed thoughts about that, and then having to come back. So yeah, I just wanted to go back to what was, but I didn't realize we needed to do. What needed to happen was to go through it and out the other side, not back. No, there's no going back.
mhm,
It was going forward through it.
mhm.
So yeah, it was a massive learning experience. So I'd been studying all this in-depth psychology, Jungian analysis. I got to that point. I'd rebirthing, the alternate healing modalities. So the fasting, the special diets, the trips in nature, out in nature, meditation, everything. This is like, yeah, the late 90s into the 2000s, where it was quite, that kind of self-help through the 90s into the 2000s was a big thing. It sort of seemed to have backed off a little bit now. But that's what I was doing, basically, trying to heal from this thing, trying to go back. And then now we're getting closer to the event now. This is 22, yeah, about over 2 decades of suffering this paranoid attacks. The olanzapine was like, it's a bit like having a sedative. It was very much sedating. So what I do was, because I like that little, like to feel alive.
Yeah.
I tried to back the drugs off because they were so sedating. I was putting weight on, from being quite lean to starting to put weight on. So I was trying, and I was just trying to work, and I was trying to get over it without drugs. I was didn't want the drugs. I just wanted to be back to normal. And I thought that's what was going to happen. No, it wasn't. It
Right.
wasn't going to happen at all. So, yeah, I was winning off this. And what I managed to get was Valium. So I had Valium towards maybe about the last 5 years. So I'd have tabs of Valium on me, and I'd be weaning off the Zyprexa, cutting it up, or going from like so many milligrams to a quarter, and then I'd feel the edge of it, because it was like walking to the edge of a cliff. When the paranoia came on, it came on in like a wave that it just want to like feel like it was going to take over. And it was like walking to the edge of a cliff. If you can imagine walking to the edge of a cliff, that's what it was like every time that came on. And that could be every day. But as I was weaning off, it'd be more on occasion a day, maybe 3 a day sometimes, where I'd walk to the edge and then, whoa, I better take something, and then back off from this, whatever this disaster was going to be. Because when I'd had the breakdowns, it was like that, totally took over, and then I lost time. It's the feeling of totally losing control, absolutely losing control of your life. You've totally lost your mind. So that's just what it was like. There's times when I got, what I'd say, was it when you get seriously injured and you get shock? There was times I went into shock. My face would go like grey. Blood would run from my face. Right, so this is after all this learning. I was starting to get into like a cult kind of things. By a cult, I mean more the hidden world, psychologically hidden world. I'm not going to try and make it woo-woo. Just going to be straight about it. So, and I noticed intuition. I was getting more. I was already through the illness becoming more in tune with my intuition. It was becoming everything. I've been like somebody who was very logical and rational and working things out. Professional jobs like that, I've got to work things out. Everything is square, and and math works. Well, now it's becoming more intuitive. So I got into through the Jungian analysis, stuff like that. Started doing like magic, with a K, and finally like into spelling and calling on angels, like angelic help, that kind of thing. So this was just I was doing some spelling. I was calling on angels via like complicated like spelling with Kabbalah, Jewish Kabbalah. Like I found this kind of wonderful kind of squaring the circle kind of spells, and I was doing that kind of thing, and I thought, and it all feels like kind of magic. This kind of, it feels like magical because you're in this kind of little schizophrenic kind of state, so everything feels a little bit magical. And if you look into like schizophrenia, things like that, it does have in other areas of the world, like Buddhism, schizophrenia is like used for that people that have schizophrenia are their seers. You know, they're the people they kind of hype up to see into the future to bring something back for them. So now I suppose I'm going to get into how, in effect, that works with mind, because so I'm doing this spelling a couple of times, and this and I've been backing off the drugs and basically very small amount of the antipsychotic drug, and now I was on the Valium is like a kind of placebo kind of. Well, it obviously did work, but I always had it on hand, so it was always there, and I know it'd work in about 20 minutes or so, and it'd bring the anxiety down, because the anxiety was everything really. So what happened? I've said this before, because one other video, I've only had one other interview with Jeff Peate. I suppose you see Jeff Peate's video, Pegi. On that day, basically, you know, biblical, I think it's in John, it says, on that day you will know. Because what happened was the waves were coming on this day. The waves were coming every minute. The waves, as if I was going to fall off the cliff, jump off the cliff, or fall off the cliff, were coming over and over and over. It kind of back off. It was like an oscillating kind of feeling of what we call normality, and then total abnormality, like I was going to total lose control. So it was going oscillating like this kind of feeling. The normal feeling that I'd go to and then back off was not going away. It was just coming every minute. Another one to come, another one to come. And it just got to that point. It was probably about half an hour of this, and I was in my vehicle at the time, and I just lay on the back seat, and I curled up, like fetal position. And I said to myself, and this is what Eckhart Tolle said, something similar: I cannot live with myself. Whereas there's a distinction between I and myself as two separate entities. That's how that kind of transcendent events kind of work, because there's a disintegration from who you see yourself to be, and in effect soul. Because as I lay there, I sincerely want to die. Sincerely. And sorry, this feeling isn't, oh, for me, I want to die. And you know, now it's the emotion coming up from the event, from recall of the event. And this is not like not a little bliss out, really, because as I lay there all curled out, fetal position, and I said to myself, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And then what happened was, as clear as day, I could see awareness, because then we're talking pure awareness, and I, because I've got to make the distinction now. There's pure awareness and the body, the mind-body complex. So awareness was looking down at the body lying there. Awareness was outside of the body, you know, as in, it's probably all the time with NDEs. Awareness was looking down at the body lying there, curled up, and it was more like a kind of like, it was clear as day, as clear as now. And lying there, more like a, yeah, because it was more like an outline, even though it was clear as day, that the whole scene. was as clear as day. It was more like a kind of outline because it was giving a line coming through. It's hard to use the word telepathic in that respect, but everything that's viewed in the experience is to do with pure intuition, empathy, and things become like the telepathy comes because of pure intuition. There's no mind, there's no thinking. Empathy, intuition, and telepathy all link together into one when these experiences happen, you know. So then awareness looked to the side, and it's like a white cardboard cutout. I call them Casper the Ghost, like a white cardboard, two-dimensional, bright white body shape. There are no features, featureless, just the body shape, almost like a cutout. Looking directly at awareness, into awareness. So, and then awareness, yeah, the two-dimensional, the white light body looked forward as if having its hands on its hips, and it could telepathically, awareness could telepathically feel, saying, "I feel put out." It just totally fits in with awareness being put out of the body. So what this other figure is, I'm not 100% sure. It's in effect, some people might I like to, because this has been 5 years, 6 years of analyzing of this experience, to trying to rationalize it. There is in terms, because obviously I've got a rational mind before I work things out, and I know what it's about really, even though we have this other dimension now that we deal with all the time afterwards, after these events. So so then the white light figure disappeared through what felt like, if you close your eyes, see the darkness in behind your eyelids. Usually that darkness behind your eyelids is like, you know, like a certain amount of depth. you know, like meditating. It's dark and you don't think too much about things. It's just this darkness, and you might see a few things happening and what have you. But in the very depths of the back of this darkness behind closed eyes, there was a little square, like orange hatchway, very faint orange hatchway, right in the depths of the back of, you know, closed eyes seat. And then the Casper the Ghost went through the hatch. Yeah, sort of slipped through, you know, like you'd see like in a movie, like the loose thing like turns into like a bit of a more like a stream, and then disappeared down through through the hatchway. And then what happened? Awareness followed it through that kind of gateway, hatchway. And then there was the it was wonderful. It was pitch black, and I mean, I say to people, this must be the astral realm. It was pitch black. It's beautiful. And sorry, I sort of might rewind a bit. When awareness left the mind body line there was absolute liberation, the feeling of liberation. You know, it's like, unreal, just totally liberated. I suppose, you know, when they put you out in a hospital, it's better than that. So yeah, so I'm in this awareness is in this astral darkness, beautiful darkness, and then it was as if writing somewhere, like suddenly moving very fast, but there's no rushing wind or anything. There's just like kind of moving very, very fast and towards a center somewhere. And then it felt like a few minutes. It felt like, yeah, a few minutes, and came upon awareness kind of stopped, and in front of you was like an oval, a big, the same light color, like just like a white light color as the Casper the Ghost was, this big white like eye shape thing. If it was in view, that like kind of measured it, it's probably like the size of a house, a single story house. And then awareness was noticed, the kind of Casper the Ghost figure was in the white light shape. You know, you could see there's like, I could see the outline in that white light was moving around. And as that was noticed, what happened then was awareness was inside that white light body in the white light room. Best. Wow. If being liberated from your body is fantastic, being in the light, the Holy Spirit, having it washing through you, it's just absolute ecstasy. Because that's what it was. Lying there, similar to like, my body wasn't a van, was now the body in light. And as if the I say I now, obviously it's a bit funny. So it's a soul, in effect, couldn't look up, could not look up into light. It was platinum, like filled the whole scene, the whole view, and the rays were just passing, permeating through the body, through the soul. The light was tangible. It was as if you were lying on the beach on a warm day and the sun's really bright. It was bright like the sun is bright. On a very bright day, if you look up, the sun's white with the rays, and the rays were energized with pure love. So these right through it. So I couldn't see the soul couldn't see the individual rays because they just take up the whole scene. But the passing, permeating through the body is like laying on the beach on a warm day with the sun, and you can just feel like a breeze wash your body. You can feel the breeze on your body. Well, that breeze was like passing through my body, through the soul. Sorry, my body. Myself, and I, odd things to talk about when you're trying to kind of discuss, you know, this, because I, in effect, was left behind. Myself is something else, and soul is in, and God, you know, another thing altogether. Well, but all integrated together. So yeah, the Holy Spirit, the rays, the whole, and the love was just, as usual, totally indescribable to have those rays passing through your soul. Words can't describe the love. To be loved, to realize you're loved for eternity, because there was not, obviously, time. The usual time space had disappeared. There was no time. It was just this place and this white light. And then what happened? Yeah, as if that wasn't enough. Just noticed with the room was it was actually a room rather than just a light, and just lying there and looking into the light, probably about 30 feet away, maybe, was like a board, and I could notice some kind of male kind of figure. It was like a board, and then awareness was over there, and fleeing past the board was like all the knowledge of the universe was like on this whiteboard. All these formulas described. So, and then that was just fleeting. It just went past. And it was God the Father. So, God the Father. To be hugged like that, I can't describe that kind of cosmic hug, really. It's just, he seems to, he felt the universe as if there was this powerful male character that just straddled the universe. This was in love. It was, yeah, the power was in love, and that was linked with the light. So the Father's spirit was in, I suppose, imbued in the light, because the light was the creator of all, was the singularity. The light is the source of light. Obviously, couldn't see the source of the light, but obviously the light's coming out of is all. And then the understanding is in the light. It's imbued in the light. It's not like the Father's spirit from the light. And the Father's understanding is absolute reason. So, you know, we're trying to work things out. Obviously, there will be a stage where everything will be worked out. And when everything is worked out, you realize it's all in love. All life emanates out from love. And I can even now afterwards rationalize anything that anybody ever does. I can rationalize it from a point of view of love. Ever anything happens in this, people kill each other, they do terrible things, they do loving things. It's all due to love, and it's not really an the lack thereof, love.
Yeah.
So it's love or the need for love, which is also, so that's where the singularity comes in, and that's the Father's truth. Because what happens is, over our life we experience causality, and I have to just go into the experience now to show how causality occurs. So I'm with the Father and the cosmic hug. Oh, you know, to be hugged by Father God. Really just can't, indescribable, really. And then Father God says, oh, first off, you know, I felt like his little son, little tiny son, you know, because he's enormous, the size of the universe. I was just tiny. And then he says, you bring me these tiny infinitesimal transgressions, and the voice is obviously telepathic, and it sounds just like Santa. It's really, really funny, because you lead back to the history. If you go right back in history of you know, Westerners, in effect, we come like ourselves. We come from the northern Europe, you know, and all that Santa and stuff, and that's just how he appeared to me, as Santa. And the way he talked in the booming kind of telepathic voice is just booming power, but so loving. and caring at the same time. Sorry. It just wells up with emotion, pure emotion, just thinking about the experience now. It's 6 years ago, almost 5.5 years now. And even just thinking about it, really. So
Could you see him, like
there's a point.
physically?
I was, no, it was like, in effect, there was a telepathic kind of feeling of the size of him. Like I said, like he's kind of straddled the universe, and he did mention like I could feel like karma, and how that led, because what happened then was like the whiteboard kind of appeared again, and quickly, like, of things that weren't I did when I was younger, that weren't very nice. They weren't like yeah, in fact, there weren't huge transgressions in any kind of. They're just small, really, just fleet on a video, and then sorry, just got to get my, because I would miss anything. It's not really good. So yeah, oh yeah, because then there's the feeling of karma, like sin, karma, one and the same, synonymous, really. The of black holes swallowing stars from the point of view of very small amounts of karma to black holes swallowing stars. Now, in people's psyche, or the human psyche, is how we can like, oh, that's terrible, this black hole like swallowed a star. No, it's just the way it is. To like the karma of, say, somebody like Hitler or Stalin, murdered all these people, and the psychopathy and sociopathy, compared to my little transactions, that kind of, and how he had, Father God has to deal with that kind of level of karma compared to like everyday kind of people's lives. So then there was a feeling like a bird having to leave a nest. That's what the feeling was. And it's just, anybody that's had such an experience like yourself, Peggy, you really don't want to leave. You, why would you ever want to leave this place? But leaving must, because there's a message to bring back. That's what it is. There's something to do. So out of the corner, it was like, in effect, getting birthed out of the corner of the eye, the kind of room shape. Vesica Pisces, so that's like the female Vesica Pisces, a birth canal out into the world. So out in the corner was, in effect, my soul was birthed out through the kind of corner of the room, and on the way out into the astral darkness again, there was another voice. There was another telepathic voice, and that's female, and there was a distinct message. The distinct message was, it was like the yin yang. It was like there's the, Christianity has forgotten me. That's what it was. Christianity has forgotten the divine feminine, and it's just as deep as that, and as deep as that. And I could feel the depth of it in modern Christianity, and how it's in effect, everybody's saying patriarchy, patriarchy. Yeah, in effect it is, because what's happened is, if you look at the normal Christianity, you look at the divine family, where's the female? Where's the divine feminine? She's lost. She's obviously there, but she's totally neglected. And that's, I think, that, and how that plays itself out in effect, the Western world, but the Western psyche, deep psyche, a collective of consciousness, is like damaged by it, So that's what it felt like. She was telling me. And then what happened was, it was like awareness then became like a shooting star, as if like, yeah, and in effect, was ejected out of heaven, this heavenly and seemed to do like a big trajectory as if orbiting a planet. So it's like a comet was orbiting a planet, getting ready to go somewhere. So taking this, and what seemed like, because on this kind of scales, what was sometimes something that looks like a straight line like light curves over space, space time. It curves light. So when light normally looks straight, it's in effect like curving around the universe. So in effect, yeah. So my soul, as like this comet, was shooting across the astral darkness, heading off somewhere. Sorry, I'm a bit of sniffing there. Shooting across this astral darkness, and it was beautiful. It was really velvety, and the love hadn't left. That love that was felt in heaven in the light, was still there. It just, I can't describe it. And then, yeah, shooting across, and suddenly coming in the distance was like this grey ball was appearing. Like this misty grey ball was appearing, and bigger as soul was shooting towards this. Trying to use terms, they're the only terms I can use to describe who awareness is at the time. So shooting toward this misty ball, and say that's the ball. Then if you know anything about neutrinos and how they can pass through, like a free like little electron that's like super speeded up that comes out the sun and sun can like shoot through planets, So in effect, it felt like soul was like a neutrino. I was heading towards this misty ball and entered the misty ball at a tangent, because everything's like black and white in the astral realm. It's like having a black and white TV. There's this beautiful velvety darkness, and then there was the white light. But this ball was misty color, contrast to that, and became grey in effect. So then, tangentially, shooting to this ball, awareness came close to the core, what it called the core, which was jet black, like darker, oily black, like darker than the astral, probably about the same actually as the astral, a different texture in effect, because it was like oily jet black. And then there was because everything was like I said, with the telepathy, it's the more empathy, the more telepathy. It's the same here on Earth, obviously. Sorry, I'm being stupid. The more empathy, the more telepathic feeling you get. You can hear people, you can feel things. So with this pure love, this pure empathy, could feel this female voice groaning inside this oily kind of balloon, in effect. Because then what was noticed was it was like as if elbows are trying to push out of this balloon, and this groaning going on. And that's Gaia, Gaia was talking about, and the feeling was the suffering for humanity on the surface, for the unfulfillment of some of our humanity. Most of our, in one way or another, she's a woman gives birth to a child and she wants that child fulfilled in life, because who doesn't? There was that feeling. I mean, obviously, I'm not a woman, I'm male, and but there's that feeling of how a woman might feel for her children to be fulfilled in life, and be the best they can be, and all that. So and in the kind of scene at the same time, it's like a mind's eye. was on the surface, that there was the oily kind of patches on the surface as well. So this like kind of oily patches on the surface, and in fact that felt like the to do with like the old unfulfillment. You know, when humans have to kind of do things in effect we call bad evil because they're not being consciously aware of what would be that fulfill, what they would be in fulfill, what they would be like and doing if they were fulfilled in life. They'd be natural, you know, they'd go along with a natural world, but in the human way, human, you know, fulfilling their lives because there's nothing in the way of thinking of problems and stuff that is stopping them being fulfilled. So it felt like that. And anyway, then what happened was a feeling of becoming more gross, for want of a word, passing through and passing through the planet towards the surface. There was a mixture, everything that all those and all the strata layers to be like old chakra colors to the surface, like, you know, there's brown and there was reds and there was yellows and there's like, they were like felt as passing, because everything started to become color, passing through to the surface, going from black and white, everything suddenly started becoming colorful, as if, yeah, I was heading to the surface, and then suddenly awareness was sitting in the van, and the love was still there. That same level of empathy was still there. There was no separate sense of self. Again, as if when awareness left the body, that was the same. Pure awareness was just there, looking into the world, and it was all brand new. This world was brand new. Everything was crystal clear. All the colors were all bright and vibrant. Well, you know what that is, don't you?
Yeah.
Heaven on earth. Heaven on earth. Heaven on earth. Oh. And to stay like that persisted, just didn't go away. It just slowly dwindled away. And to not want to think, there was no thinking, there was no mind to think, just this pure disassociated awareness. There was a body, the body was in the frame of view, but there was no frame. So like in effect, the frame that we normally feel like, in effect, like looking out through body with eyes, we in effect like see a frame, like Rupert Spiro talked about it, that there's like, you in effect, you're looking at TV screen and you see the movie playing on the screen and you see the actors using on the screen, and then suddenly the screen disappears. It's like that. It's there's no fear to die in the moment. The eternal moment is arising. That's where the eternal moment is. Time in effect and space linked, but causality disappears. And it just the eternal moment arises. And you realize it's like a child, because infants are in that state. This took me a long, and intuitively felt it straight away. But then like about 18 months to 2 years, it was the thinking mind started coming back. As soon as the thinking mind comes back, then all the kind of the issues The anxiety's not there anymore. The 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 anxiety is not. It's as if there's the anxiety over there. It's still like here. To know that it's appeared as a separate entity, the mind body, is to know that that's not real. We're all into the world from God. So yeah, and then I studied psychology a bit and realized, yeah, if you put an infant in front of a mirror, they might come and they point at, if you draw, they do the rouge, they put a little bit of lipstick on the nose of a child, an infant, and they touch the mirror. They don't touch their own nose, because that image in the mirror is not who they are. It's not known as who they are, because they have no separate sense of self. That only comes about once 2 years old, which kind of like strangely fits with the amount of time it took until, in effect, my soul was rooted into my mind body. That's how long it kind of felt to take. This kind of awareness became re-enclosed again. So there's the frame reappears again. You feel yourself as like a mind body again that's contained within its limitations.
So what did you make of it?
Where prior to, pardon?
What did you make of it
Pardon?
when this was over? What did you think of it? What did you think that was?
Well, I'd like to use, well, to use the word, it's been mentioned to me. I don't want to take the word on because it's got connotations, but they call it enlightenment. So, enlightenment.
Yeah.
Because then what's happening is, in effect, that the lightness from beyond itself is channeled through into the world. So in fact, you're purely human. You're in your natural state as like a child. So everything's brand new, everything's perfect. There's no need to work anything out. It's all perfectly understood. That this understanding comes from love. There's no need to. But then the love becomes incarnated again, so it becomes contained within complex. The reason why it wants protection is from unlove, and an infant, and an infant empathically feels the world. They know, because they've done studies of your infant psychology. They know intuitively how you're feeling. They instinctively know. This is innate intuition. Your body language you're giving off, your facial features, your way you're holding your body, they are reading everything. There's no filter blocking the feelings. And they're taking all that on. And how the mind starts, the individual mind starts to build, is it builds off love. Because an existential threat to love. When the child's becoming incarnated into mind, it's an existential threat. So if they perceive unlove, if awareness perceives unlove, it's a duality. It builds a duality. This is where duality starts. And then you get causality, because a memory comes, and that memory becomes in the self-aware field. The mind-body complex is a self-aware field built up of a psychosoma. The psycho as in mind, soma as in body. You learn this in rebirth. that you can feel something in your arm. I've had that before, or your leg, and what that
In
is a
rebirth?
memory. Rebirthing, it's some breath work. Yeah, no,
Oh,
sorry, yeah, it can get confusing there. Breath work, where you do this heavy breath work. This you have these spiritual experiences. You have these visions and stuff where you can kind of oh, that's because of that when I was 2 years old. Yeah,
all right.
your whole self-aware field is like in effect a trauma. Sorry, it gets complicated. There's a
Yeah.
trauma field.
Yeah. It's complicated.
Your mind body. It's just a trauma field.
Yeah.
Once it's got self-aware, you know, when you're totally immersed in something you really like, you disappear.
Hmm.
It doesn't happen so much when you're an adult because you're soaking all this stuff going on. But as soon as you get this lovely thing you like doing, self-awareness just disappears. Just
Yeah.
awareness. What was happening when, say, I was also stuff. That was happening all the time. This is when, you know, Buddhists say non-doing. All those Buddhists, all those spiritual practices that
Okay.
they say are for, they're for this event. They're for this
Yeah.
event where you're in the eternal moment. You're in the moment.
Yeah.
Future, there's no
And I
past.
think we're out of
There's only doing.
moments. We need to go. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So I really
I
appreciate
didn't
you
realize it
taking
was so.
time to share all this with me. It's overwhelming. So I'll probably have to watch it a couple
Yeah,
times to
it's yeah,
really
it gets that way.
get it.
When you're trying to start to rationalize it, it starts to lose its yeah, it's right. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I
yeah.
really appreciate your
Yeah,
time
I think you
and
don't
coming on
rationalize
and
something like this.
yeah.
You just want to experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So absolute healing I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
It's been
All
nice
right.
speaking to you, Peggy.
Uh-huh.